What's going on, Dolphins fans? Jacob here, Miami Dolphins Syndicate. We've just gotten our first look at what the depth chart is going to look like for the Dolphins this upcoming season, so we're just going to jump straight into it and look at everything about it, a little bit of some surprises, look at what the team is kind of focusing on and how they've treated some of the younger players in this first initial depth chart. So we'll get right into it right here. First off, first thing on the list, you don't see a lot of surprise when it comes to the starters. So starting top to bottom, Tyreek Hill as a wide receiver 1. Then the offensive line, Armstead, Eichenberg, Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, and Austin Jackson. Followed by Durham Smythe, Alec Ingold, Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Tua, and Jalen Waddle. Just those bunch right there. No surprises across the board. The offensive line maybe was the one position group that you could have seen some changes, but with Eichenberg, Jackson, and Hunt, the younger players that they've invested time in developing, I expected them to come out as the number ones at their position, even if some of them haven't had their best starts to their Dolphins career, or some of them have been a little bit hurt, and Robert Hunt, coming off of a relatively underwhelming season. I did go into this expecting them to maintain their starting jobs, and you see some guys behind them like Isaiah Wynn and Dan Feeney that we've brought in, Kendall Lamb that we've retained. So some guys behind them that are hopefully capable of filling in for them if need be. But I do believe this is our strongest starting 5 on the offensive line. You go down to the list to the tight end position, and it is what we kind of expected it to be, Durham Smythe being the starter. We know this is the number one position, the weakest position going into the season on the offensive side of the ball. Durham Smythe is certainly a blocking first tight end. We'll see if he's worked on his route running ability and add a little bit of depth to his offensive ability. But looking at this list, it is. I was hoping to see Higgins a little higher on the depth chart. He was the one that I can see the most potential in. Not necessarily mean he's going to live up to that, but I would love to have seen Higgins really come out, ball out in camp, and really all the tight ends have been kind of pedestrian so far in camp. Haven't seen anything that's really stood out between the bunch of them. Smythe, Croft, Saubert, Tanner Connor even getting above Higgins, so can't really expect a lot out of this offensive group. Alec Ingold, the only fullback left on the roster. No surprise him being the starting fullback at that. And then Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson, the 2 starting running backs. Just like last year, they did list 2 starting running backs. So the 2 of them, I expect Raheem to be the number 1 and then Jeff Wilson. But the 2 of them as a tandem, I very much expect to go into the season. One thing to note about the running back room is you look how far behind Devon Achane is. And I think that's more about rookies earning their spot rather than just the fact that he is that far back on the depth chart. You look and you see Eric Ezukama. Yes, he's not a rookie, but he is well buried on that depth chart behind some guys like River Craycraft, behind Robbie Anderson, Braxton Berrios. Depending on how you look at it, even Braylon Sanders is ahead of him. So Eric Ezukama, young player who we've seen a little bit of a bright spot from in training camp so far, he's got a long way to go. Tyreek Hill and Waddle, the starters there, no one really was surprised by that. But the biggest conversation, I think, was going to be around that wide receiver 3 position. And it looks like Cedric Wilson has it for now, which going into the season last year, he was pretty much in the same exact spot until Trent Sherfield took that away. And River Craycraft marking his way up to the 4th wide receiver spot. A little bit of a surprise for me. Somebody who I thought would be a cut candidate coming into camp, and I haven't. The couple days that I've been there, as well as the practice, I haven't really seen a lot from him, but apparently he's done a good enough of a job to work his way up ahead of guys like Robbie Anderson, Braxton Berrios, Eric Ezukama. Braylon Sanders, at the time of recording, we did just hear he got carted off, so we'll see what that means for him in this Miami Dolphins offense. But mostly, looking at the starters especially, not a lot of surprises here. You look at the quarterback position, Mike White has usurped Skylar Thompson in that regard. And again, another thing that I completely expected going into camp, I'm really not a big Skylar Thompson guy. He had his moments in preseason last year, but then as soon as we put him out there against actual NFL competition, he showed his limitations, and I don't really expect him to be able to take that spot back from Mike White, who's showed time and time again with the Jets with a bad offense. He's at the very least been capable of carrying them along, and if he has to come into the game for Tua, I do feel very confident about him doing that. So we are going to move down to the defensive personnel. And I'm not sure if it's necessarily a surprise, but Emmanuel Ogbah is not listed as a starter as of now. He came back from that injury, and he's been a full participant in camp so far. However, he does get jumped by Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips. Somebody had to be the number 2 there. You can only have 2 starting edge rushers, and we've seen a lot of Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb working together on the side and not participating with the rest of the edge rushers or linebackers at all, especially early on in the training camp practices that we've seen so far. Going down the list, you got Christian Wilkins, Raekwon Davis, Zach Zeeler, Phillips, Jerome Baker, David Long, Bradley Chubb, Xavier Howard. Ramsey is still listed as that second cornerback spot. We know that that's not going to be the case. It's likely to be somebody further down the depth chart who's going to get that number 1 starting spot outside. Javon Holland, and then Brandon Jones. Brandon Jones also news today that he's now without, or I'm sorry, I believe that Trill Will is actually the one who's without the red jersey. So I think Brandon Jones is still in that non-contact red jersey, but Trill Will has now been upgraded to a full participant in practice, which is a great thing to see. Looking at that cornerback group, we have Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey as the 2, and then Kadir Kahu, depending how you look at it, the 3 or the 4. Nick Needham is still a ways away from getting fully involved in practices. From what I've seen from him so far on the sideline, is he does these separate drills with Sam Madison. He goes through some warm-ups, but he doesn't even have the red jersey on. As far as I'm aware, I'm not sure if he had that on today, but as far as I'm aware, hasn't had any pads on, hasn't even had the red jersey on. Has just been a complete non-participant in terms of the team drills, just practicing individually on the side. But what I imagine what's going to go on with this cornerback crew while Jalen Ramsey is still out is Xavier Howard at the 1, Kadir Kahu be the inside corner in the slot. And just how we're looking at this, that would leave Noah Igbenogany as the number 2 outside corner. Cam Smith, similarly to what we saw with Devon Achane in the offense, really buried in this cornerback crew. You see Tino Ellis, Eli Apple, just a couple of guys that are behind him. But in front of him, you have Justin Bethel on his level. You have Keon Crossan, and we know how Keon Crossan performed last year at the cornerback spot. Don't want to see another showing of him playing corner. You know, if he sticks to special teams, all right, fair enough, but don't want him seen lining up against other teams' top receivers. So Cam Smith, somebody who hopefully, like Devon Achane, we will see climb the depth chart throughout preseason. I've been impressed by him at camp so far. He's been very quick, very twitchy, got a good first step, got good intuition to getting his hands on the ball. And I've really liked what I've seen from him as a rookie in his first camp. Noah Igbenogany. Now, there's a lot of reporters that have been saying that they've seen him impress, and this is his best camp so far. Just strictly speaking, on the times that I've been there, I have not seen a lot of things that I would consider to be that. Although Donovan is somebody who is a much bigger Noah Igbenogany fan than I am on this channel, so maybe I'm just flipping completely the opposite direction and don't want to really acknowledge how good he is just because, you have your friend that swears by one thing, you just immediately want to swear by the other. But even that being said, I haven't seen a lot from him. I saw the interception, of course, on Saturday at the practice that he had on Tua, so fair play enough for that. But, as things stand, it looks like, given the personnel that we have healthy right now, it's going to be Xavier Howard, Noah Igbenogany, Kadir Kahu at the slot, and then Bethel, Smith, and Crossan, followed by the rest of those guys there. Brandon Jones, while he is still hurt, assuming he's going to be healthy week 1, will be back partnering Javon Holland, which is the partnership that had a lot of success last year early on in the season, followed by Campbell and Deshaun Elliott. Deshaun Elliott, I assume, will be Javon Holland's partner if Brandon Jones is not healthy by the time week 1 comes around. They have experience together, playing together in college, and now they have this opportunity back with the Dolphins. And just looking at the depth chart for what it is, Brandon Jones followed by Elliott, I think it's a very good chance that that's the case. Again, nothing really too surprising out there. Again, with Ogbah, somebody had to be the non-starter of the 2. Looking at the linebacker group, Channing Tindall is listed as the middle linebacker number 3, and coming off a season where he had only 1 snap on defense, not special teams but actual defense. I'd love to see him get more involved in this team, but what you're seeing with guys like Tindall, guys like Cam Smith, guys like Devon Achane, is they are being forced to earn their spot on the team, which no problem with that whatsoever. If Mike McDaniel wants these rookies to show up and earn their spot, even if they are maybe more talented than somebody in front of them, to come in and work hard, I love that. I think that's only just added motivation for these guys to go out there and earn their spot both on the team and in the depth chart. So that's a look at the defense, and then just rounding it out with the specialists. I guess the moral of this list is there's just not a lot of surprises to go around with Jason Sanders and Bailey, the only guys available for those positions. Ferguson, the long snapper, as he's been for years now. Those were pretty much penciled in. And it looks like Braxton Berrios has gotten the starting spot for both kick and punt return. Cedric Wilson at punt return last year was abysmal, to put it kindly. Even there was nothing really going either with the kick return game or the punt return game. Raheem Mostert sometimes looked a little dangerous in return, but didn't really bear much fruit. And guys like Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, you don't want to see your top guys out there potentially getting hurt. So Braxton Berrios, both kick and punt return duties. As I just mentioned, just not a lot of surprises. A lot of the guys who you expected to start, you look at that offensive line, Eichenberg getting his opportunity to start, Austin Jackson getting his opportunity to start. These are really important games. It's an important year for the two of them while they're still on their rookie deal to come out and impress, because they both have not had a good start to their Dolphins career for one reason or another. It's a bright sign to see, guys like Brandon Jones and Nick Needham higher up on those depth charts, even though they haven't been participating much. That means the team has confidence that once they do come back, they're going to come back to their previous self. Let me know what you think about the depth chart so far. Is there anything that surprised you? Is there anything that you'd like to see change before the season starts? Get involved in the comments. Let us know what you think. Thank y'all very much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and have a great rest of your day. Take care, everybody.